Welcome to this week's Dose of Emuna for Shabbat Kodesh. Today we're going to talk about the idea of Shabbat being a day of recognizing that we were never alone. On Shabbat, the letters of the Shabbat, the word of Shabbat, is also lashuv, tishev, meaning to return. Because on Shabbat, we're basically returning to that perfect state, to the source of life. So it's a celebration of that wholeness, the wholeness that replaces the fragmented feeling of the entire work week. So the Arizal teaches that on Shabbat there's a sense of unity. And this unity is really because of the fact that we receive what's called a second soul. Now there's different ways of looking at what it means that neshama yetera, the additional soul. Some say it's an actual piece, additional piece. Some commentaries say that it's an actual new soul. In any case, the idea behind this additional soul is that when Adam HaRishon was actually driven out of Gan Eden, a part of his soul remained there. And on Shabbat, Hashem, so to speak, releases that part of the soul that was left in Gan Eden, and he released that part of the soul and he gives it back to man. So it's an extra soul. We're given the opportunity on Shabbat to return to Gan Eden. Essentially, because Shabbat is the sense of wholeness, it's a sense of revelation, it's a sense of completeness. When we're in that state of oneness, of full unity with Hashem, what we really essentially are experiencing is we're feeling one with our source, one with Hashem, one with their creator. And that essentially is the idea of Geula, of redemption. Redemption is a state of Gila. Gila is a type of happiness that stems from a place that was beforehand, it was unknown to us. It's something new. It's a layer of happiness that we attain and we come to because we've now discovered something new. So it also involves excitement, surprise. There are different elements that are added to the idea of Gila as opposed to Simcha, which is happiness. And so the idea of the happiness that we experience on Shabbat is that we realize that Hashem is always with us. He was, He is, and He will always be with us. In other words, we were never alone. Now, when we sit there in that experience called Shabbat, and we have the fullest connectedness and bonding with Hashem, and we realize that we're so lucky to carry a spark of godliness inside of us, that wherever we go, He goes. We're never alone. Hashem is always with us, no matter what we did, no matter what we said, no matter what things we got caught up in. Hashem, He's keeping a cheshbon. He's keeping an accounting. We do have to come, to a place of teshuvah. We need to return. But at the end of the day, Hashem wants us to turn to Him. He wants to bring us out of the galut. He wants to bring us into geula. Marriage is difficulty. Marriage has struggles in it. But even though we go through all the difficulties, we're together. I'm not alone. We're going through it together. And that's essentially what the togetherness and the unity and the oneness that we experience on Shabbat, that is the essential awareness and consciousness of Shabbat Kodesh. So let's give it some thought as we enter into Shabbat, to that sense of, I never was alone, I'm not alone, and I'll never be alone. Have a great Shabbat.